Yep, we're all good.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming and welcome to our third board meeting for the year. Thanks to Stephen for preparing the agenda. We have here Alicia Thomas, Marcus Buckhorn, Michael Phillips, Stephen DaCosta, and I'm Fiona Tweedy. We've had apologies from some members of the board. Nicholas Gruen isn't with us. And the first matter on hand today is acknowledging, Virginia Barber, who's one of our board nominees, is currently travelling, and Helen Ensikat may be joining us a little later. So the first matter of business today is some changes to the board. This has been discussed a few times, that it was time perhaps for a little bit of a mix-up, that some of us have been here, well, I think we've all been here since the beginning now, and it's not healthy for any organisation to have people rusted on. But acknowledging some of the retiring board members, Dr. Maya Soren, who's been in Melbourne and has been my co-chair and other half for purposes of open knowledge, is currently in India for work and has indicated that while she's keen to stay in touch with the community, she will be retiring from the board. Anne Cregan-Wolf in Sydney, who's also been a long-standing member of the community, very involved with GovHack, is expecting an addition to her family soon, so has also indicated that she will be retiring. James Klimt in Brisbane is retiring, and Anna, and I'm going to mess up her last name, Anna Mihof-Nikodotis, who's also provided sterling administrative support to us via NICTA, or Data61 as they are these days, is also retiring. So I'd like to formally note that, and also thank them all very much for their contribution to the open knowledge community over the couple of years that we've been working together. So we have, yes, losing those four, but we do have some nominees for the positions which have opened up on the board, and thank you very much to Stephen, who's been doing the coordination for that. The first in Sydney is Anne-Marie Elias, known on Twitter as Chief Disruptor, who's been very involved in GovHack in Sydney in the last year, and has all sorts of ideas already for activities which we might be undertaking. Alicia Thomas, who's also a long-standing member of the GovHack community in South Australia, has kindly agreed to be nominated for the board. Thank you very much, Alicia. Helen Ensikat in Perth, also very involved with GovHack and GovPond, so very, and the outstanding website Democracy Sausage, Australia's favourite website for finding where to vote. So very exciting to have Helen willing to join us. And finally from Queensland, Virginia Barber. So great to see 4 strong women joining the board, and also evening out, maintaining the evenness of that geographical spread and adding representatives from South Australia and Western Australia. So there's a formal process which we do need to go through for these nominations. Can I ask all the current members of the board, I'm going to read through the list of nominations. If you can give me a thumbs up if you agree with these nominations. Is that a satisfactory process for everyone?
Yep, I think we could do all 4 at once, unless
we
there's
can do all 4 at once?
I think so, because we've got 4 nominees.
Yes, so we can have an exact changeover. So I would like to nominate to the board of Open Knowledge Australia Anne-Marie Elias, Alicia Thomas, Helen Ensikat, and Virginia Barbour. If you agree, can you give me a thumbs up?
Seconded and agreed.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Welcome aboard, Alicia.
Yes, congratulations. Welcome aboard. Thanks, Steve, for the background work on all of that.
Sorry.
I think it'd be an opportunity for our newest director to say a few words, maybe. Drop her in the deep end.
Yep.
That's you, Alicia.
You're on mute, Alicia.
She's on the phone.
Sorry, I'm technology challenged today. Not a good sign for. Yeah, thanks for inviting me to join the board. If some of you might know me previously, but I actually run the Open Data program here in South Australia. So quite familiar with open data, and been involved with South Australia's GovHack here at 4 different locations in Adelaide, and also help with the GovHack organising committee. So I also do quite a bit of work around open licensing, and do quite a lot of work with local councils in South Australia to help them on with open licensing and open data. Yeah, so does anyone want to know anything else about me, I guess?
Yeah, put it in a blog post. We'll probably do we'll probably do a board members introduction blog post or something like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might do a look around and ask everyone to do a short piece.
Cool. That's it from me.
Where do you sit, Alicia?
So I'm in South Australia.
So organisationally.
So I work for the Department of Premier Cabinet in the Office of Digital Government.
Very well connected. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's great. Thank you very much. So moving along, Stephen, as Treasurer, can you give us an update on finances?
Just one item prior to that is just updates to ambassadors and advisors.
Oh, right. Yes, sorry.
So I can speak to that. Just as per the model rules, we can update ambassadors and advisors. So over the weekend, I put out a Google Doc and shared that around to everyone just to make sure that, just to reconfirm everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ahead of making website updates to that listing. So after this, if anyone has any exceptions to anyone on that list, please let me know. Otherwise, I'd like to go ahead and assume that everything's fine on that list with that Google Doc there. That doesn't have to happen right now, but
okay, sure.
maybe via email or something. Just
Sure.
tell me if there's not an issue. Otherwise, I'll update it today. So moving on to the next one, finances. Just a couple of quick points. The Xero account has been created. There was a note in the Basecamp for board members on the way that we're aiming to categorise accounts so that they're sort of tagged for both geography and project. That should give us a good way to run reports and keep things nice and tidy. So if we get particular funding or expenditure or asset purchases or anything like that, all of those types of things can be tagged against these categories in Xero. And that way, if something is for Health Hack, something for Hack the PV, if we get to that point, or something for GovHack, it could be tagged appropriately. And similarly, if we've got geographic tags, so a funder who might sponsor an activity in Victoria or South Australia or WA, we can tag those incoming revenues accordingly and run reports as well. The next one, again, as I confirmed sort of shortly after the last board meeting, that's all set up now. So there's no blocker to getting bank accounts and sort of being fully set up. But next point is, because we're registered or incorporated within the state of Victoria, it's Consumer Affairs Victoria, where we just need to make changes to delegates, which are people like ourselves who hold office positions. So we've made all those updates to remove people like Dave and others that might have been listed previously. And I'm formally now associated as the secretary against that account, so that's okay. Next point is, at the last board meeting, or soon after, I mentioned that well, one of the action items was to meet up with NICTA and just to go through the account to see that we have a certain amount of money, whatever it is, to transfer over to OKAU from NICTA. That was done, and it was decided that the best time to actually do that transfer is after the red carpet event, more specifically after all the accounts and expenses and such had gone through. That hasn't quite finished yet, but I've got a meeting scheduled currently with Pia from GovHack 10:30 a.m. this Friday. So we're hoping to have a finalised position at that point, and then we'll be able to proceed with financial transfers into the new OKA account. Just one rubbery indication is the last time we reported is about $5,000 available. It's more likely to be $10,000 or more after the last GovHack, simply because, again, Victoria contributed more than was expended, so there's about 5,000 available from Victorian contributions that will go back for supporting open knowledge in Victoria.
That's very encouraging, and it'll be great to be able to support some of the other local activities with some funding.
Cool.
At least cover the pizza.
Yeah. Do you want to go on to the next point, actions from last meeting?
Can I just add, sorry Steve, the only outstanding financials for GovHack 2015 are the payment of the prizes. So there's no surprises there. We know obviously what the prizes were and what's to be paid out for each. So the balances, or the likely balance from GovHack to OK will be known, but the actual money won't be completed until those prizes are paid.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool. I don't think it was sort of accounts that was holding us up at this stage now. It was more with the change of government, the main people that we needed to catch up with and get confirmations from have been super busy. We've got public sector jobs and all that.
Okie doke.
Just one other question on this topic, which might come under other business. Do we have rules in any of our structures about how we can hand out money? Legally handing money out to people usually takes a couple of steps, and I'm trying to write this process for another organisation, so it's just sort of front of mind at the moment.
I think any rules can be updated. I've previously had action items to do that work around sponsorship or sort of grant requests for people who want to fund local activities. I'd be happy to take an action item and work with you, Marcus, on that.
Cool, all right. Thanks, Fiona.
Sorry, I just got to take a 5-second break.
Right, well, action items, the next item on the agenda is actually action items from last meeting, and Stephen was to speak to that, but we've lost him temporarily.
We can run through a few. So the ones that have got my name against them, Fiona. So the discussion over an open intergenerational report project is. I met with Stephen to talk through some ideas around that. He hadn't quite got what I was after, which is why the next action item was for him to introduce me to Stephen and Steve. That was a slightly different conversation, but still good. So I'm still working on that in my copious spare time. The other action item relating to the defining functions, roles, and so on, I think that's actually more of a team thing than a me thing, because I think it's part of a what do we want, you know, the open knowledge to be, what do we want the ambassadors and so on to do, and articulating that for a broader community. Now, Stephen did mention the published data cookbook.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back.
Part of that. We're just going through all the things that you didn't do since last time, Stephen. So just the action items that were against me. So the functions and roles of people and so on, I think that's something we still need to work on together. I don't think that's necessarily just me, but perhaps if I write a draft and people can react to it one way or another, might be the way to go.
Yeah, just on that, have a look at the website now because I've merged together the listing of people in different roles with a description of what kind of commitments are expected. And Stephen Bates has been working with me over the weekend a fair bit, and he's done heaps of work to help update the website and make it more sort of sensible. So that was kind of like a starting point to that. I think we can support ambassadors, advisors, etc. more by putting information onto those specific pages.
Cool.
Sorry, which pages?
So on au.okfn.org, underneath the who we are now,
Yeah.
there's 3 sections, one for board, one for ambassadors, one for advisors.
So it reflects what's in that Google Doc list, isn't it, Stephen?
Not quite yet, because I wanted to get it approved in this meeting, all those updates, and then those updates will flow into those web pages after today.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I was thinking about the text that describes what they do.
Just have a look at the page, though. There's more information that was kind of hidden within our site.
Which page is that? The landing page of Open Knowledge?
No, it's the Who We Are page. Underneath Who We Are,
Oh, yes. There
are now three new pages.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Yeah. Could actually put the ambassadors and advisors all on the one page on that page itself, I think.
You could. It's just that they have sort of different roles, and so the intention will be to add to each of those pages.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the sort of comparison. So if somebody comes along, wants to be an ambassador or advisor, and they're not sure, they have to go into each of those 3 pages, well, actually 2 pages separately. That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah. I think there'll be 2 entry pages for that. One is the Get Involved page, and the other one will be the highest level Who We Are page.
Yep.
So the highest level then talks about the level of commitment comparatively between all the different types of volunteers.
Yep.
And that should be the page that people sort of look at and decide what kind of volunteer they might want to be.
Yep. So at the moment that comes under the governance heading, which doesn't seem quite right, but anyway.
Oh yeah, I can fix that.
Wordsmithing, minor things.
Hey Steve, have GovHack endorsed using their logo on the website?
Not specifically, but I don't think they'd have an issue with it. But yeah, I'm happy to talk to them about it and see if they've got any issues with it.
If you're catching up with Pear on Friday, that's something that you should talk to her about.
Yeah, okay.
No names, no pack drill, but I know there's rumblings within GovHack about where they want to sit in the future, and obviously open knowledge is one option, and that's what we have all been working towards. But there are people with alternative views about that.
Yeah, I think so that page is more around projects, I believe.
Yes.
Like, so if you take the example of Melbourne, they support the GovHack project. It doesn't really matter where the project sits, they're just contributors to it and work hard to make it successful. So in supporting how they support GovHack, I think it makes sense to reference the project.
Getcha. Just pay to make sure they're happy with it, so you don't want any bad blood there.
Okay, so other actions arising from the last meeting, now that Stephen is back, we've really dealt with rotation of board members, and we did manage, or a few of us managed to have a coffee after the GovHack red carpet and chat a bit about possible future directions. I still haven't written up my increasingly scrappy notes from that conversation, but I promise I will put it on my ever-expanding to-do list. various
I wasn't able
suggestions.
to make. Sorry, Fiona. Finish.
Yeah, we had some various interesting suggestions about things which we might do. Pia, as always, had some very valuable suggestions, and it was great to be able to talk with Anne-Marie and Tim D'Souza from Sydney and Keith Moss from Perth, among others who were there. So, other action items.
So most of the ones that were listed from the last board meeting were actioned.
Yes.
A couple that will roll over that I think will add to the minutes for today. So Mark has mentioned a few of those.
Can I just comment on that, the session after the GovHack Awards? I wasn't able to make it, but my understanding was that would be a bit of a planning exercise, maybe for the year ahead. Now that we've sort of stabilised membership of the board and incorporation's completed and all of that, I still think that's an important activity for the board. I mean, I know I'm sort of that way inclined, I suppose. There's plenty of other people who are happy to sort of be a lot more relaxed about that and just tackle things as they emerge. But I think it'd be worth having a discussion about whether we should have a forward plan or be a bit more relaxed about it.
Yes, I agree that having a plan, perhaps stating some high-level goals, at least for the year, would be very helpful.
The one that has the logos to Bernard, but he said that maybe this is a little bit cluttered, so that was not for discussion.
I'd agree with that. Basically, the reason why I was trying to bring everyone together.
So I guess why do I know? So if I need
Guys, I'm on a call.
26p.
Sorry about that.
So it was about bringing people together again when we had the opportunity at the GovHack Awards, just to get everyone's energy ready for something. I think if we were to do planning, it would be around 2016 and what we want to achieve in that year. The kinds of ideas that Pia would have had were around what are your high-level goals and then what are your tactics for achieving those goals. So if one of them was to a major event, which is an OK Fest, then we would have tactics that would lead towards that outcome over the 2016 period. There's a further action item, or further items down below, I think, about the Open Knowledge Week opportunity as well. I think Fiona and/or I can talk about.
Yeah.
If people agree that we ought to do something like that, then perhaps we could set up another session before too much longer. I mean, it's ideal to do it face-to-face if that's possible, but if not, have one of these sessions for, I'd say, a couple of hours where we start with a bit of a base document, forward plan, and sort of knock it into shape. That would be what I'm suggesting.
Yep. The other thing I did after that meetup, or after that session, was the Open Knowledge Canberra meetup. And the intention of that one was to really make it more of a national discussion group. So it's got video conferencing facilities and it's running every fortnight so we can have more regular discussions around things, whether it's projects like HealthHack or Hack for GV, which is sort of incubating, or GovHack for 2016 or anything. So that could be a good regular drop-in point for anyone who wants to work on a shared document. One of the points I'd make is that really the level of commitment, or where strategy needs to come from, is from local ambassadors and topic ambassadors who really support that activity. So I'd be trying to create a forum where we can support that planning approach, as well as participating in it. But I'm happy to participate, but we should be supporting other people to get it together.
Any views, Marcus?
Not in particular, no. It all sounds good.
But I'll take an action item to set up a Google Doc, at least, and we can add Fiona's notes from the meetup after GovHack Awards night, and we can put any other points and start from there.
I'm happy to help you, Steve, or do the first draft of that if someone wants to send me the material. Just to ease the load for you.
All right, we'll put the action on Michael then.
Excellent.
Given I raised it, it's only fair.
So what's the action? Michael's just...
Yeah. So we'll have another session sometime in maybe another month or so to try and develop a plan for 2016, some goals, tactics, picking up Steve's point about being agents for supporting local activities, etc. And I'll put something together, a document to help lead the conversation when we get to it.
And some success measures would be nice. The usual thing, isn't it? You set something up, people go, so how do you know you've succeeded?
Good point.
I just like throwing more homework at you, Michael. It's all right.
That's okay. No problems.
Right. Sorry, I lost my Etherpad window, so I'm back in. Leaving too much for Fiona to do.
Right. So is that everything from the updates, Ben?
Oh, do you want me to quickly run through the network and community stuff?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So the main point there, the first one is international. Stephen Gates made the good point around us pushing towards becoming a chapter. I think in different places at different times we've talked about actually being a chapter of Open Knowledge, but that hasn't been formalised. So if you go to the OKFN website, there's only 2 chapters at the moment, and we're not one of them. Stephen, in that discussion thread on the Discuss forum for Open Knowledge globally, has put all of the qualification criteria down and made it really clear as to where we stand and whether or not we'd be eligible, which it looks like we certainly would be. So I've put the question to, I think it's the CEO at the moment for Open Knowledge, to see what the next steps would be, and I put those back, I guess, to the executive, being the co-chairs, secretary, etc. of the board. Generally today I'd like to know if people are happy to go forward with that.
What's the benefit of being a chapter when there's a standing?
So there's a stated list of benefits. In fact, Open Knowledge have a wiki page that talks about it all. I can add that to the meeting notes for people to take a look at. But the main thing is kind of leads around funding opportunities, but there's some commitments as well, getting more involved or having some involvement in international events. So going to places like OK Fests. But we've kind of met those obligations through various activities. So people like myself going to the IODC and presenting stuff as sort of Open Knowledge. And next week I'm hosting an Open Knowledge San Francisco event as well. So they're all the sort of things that help us meet that criteria, meet those various criteria.
And we just looking at that, we do meet the criteria quite.
Yeah.
Don't we? Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's one piece missing, which is just to sign off on.
Yeah.
Kind of a code of conduct. We've got our own, which is really good for local meetups and such. But I think we need to just track down the proper code of conduct. It might be then something we add to ours. And so from an international perspective, we also uphold this code of conduct. Okay, so the next one, just pointing out, obviously, that there's a Brisbane meetup, and the membership is growing there. If you want to learn more about the meetups in Brisbane, then you can go to that meetup page and see what's happened and what's coming. Similarly with Canberra, we've just had 2 of those at the moment. One on just with a few people attending, and we ended up creating a video for the Open Data Index census, and one recently with Better presenting, which is really cool, and there'll be a video posted soon about that. And the next one for Canberra will be on Hack for DV, which is sort of a special topic sponsored by Anne-Marie around domestic violence and an initiative behind the people like that. Next one obviously is Melbourne, and that's always been going strong. Unless anyone wants to say anything more about that. Then there's
Planning session on Sunday, so.
Steve, just regarding Canberra, probably Canberra, I had a meeting with some people from the Department of Industry last week who are doing a paper for the Department of Industry about their data sets and whether they should make them open, and of course they should, and how they should engage with the community to exploit the value in them. And I suggested that they have a chat to you as Secretary of Open Knowledge and also as a private sector provider as well. So I don't know if they've followed that up with you, but an area of interest potentially for the local group.
Well, there's obviously kind of like topic ambassadors that we meet up in. There's quite a few in Canberra generally. People like Pia, I'm sure, would be happy to chat with them, considering that with whether finance or BBC to do open data stuff. So it might be best for him to talk to her first, but yeah, happy to refer people on.
To her as well as yourself, just different perspectives.
Cool. Well, the whole point of having regular meetups every fortnight, as per the Melbourne model, it doesn't every week, is so that in any week, any fortnight, there's something going on and people can drop in. Okay, so the next point really then is the website, just putting out that it was updated over the weekends, the new theme is applied, and with that we'll be just sort of trying to tidy up the information architecture and update some of the copy, change references from Open Knowledge Foundation to Open Knowledge, etc. The next point is the discussion board. Again, over the weekend, I think it was, maybe Saturday, maybe it was last weekend, Stephen Gates did an invitation to all the email list subscribers, so 400 members, to join the discussion forum, discuss.okfn.org, and of those invitations, about 70 people have clicked through to that and had a look. I would encourage anyone who's interested to actually have a look, because the working group discussions and just generally the discussions there are quite helpful for anyone working locally in Australia. I think over time it'll only become a much more complete resource for people for making connections and sharing knowledge. Email lists, just putting out the numbers there, we've currently got 400 subscribers. And Twitter, similarly, I checked if there's in a way, but it's something like 1,278 followers, 2,800 tweets. That's it for networking community.
How many are we following?
About 478, I think, from memory.
About, okay.
I think, yeah.
Great, well thank you for that update, Stephen. So on to planning matters, and I noticed that top of the list is Knowledge Week. So there was a meeting with City of Melbourne, which Stephen was able to attend when he was in Melbourne recently. That was also attended by me, Steve Bennett, and Lachlan from the Melbourne community. There's been a little bit of discussion with City of Melbourne about what form our participation in Knowledge Week next year might take. And it's been suggested that we sort of scale back a little bit on Stephen's original proposal, and we have put it to City of Melbourne that we would put on an unconference for 2 days, either at the beginning or the end of Knowledge Week, that it would be sort of themed around different sort of open knowledge, open streams, and that we would also be happy to help organise talks and things during the week. But that that unconference would be our main focus and contribution.
Have you guys in the Melbourne group met up with the new project manager?
Not yet.
Okay.
We've been emailing with him, but no, we haven't met face to face with him yet.
Okay, cool. Because I think from their perspective as well, doing something as big as an OK Fest was a bridge too far for this year.
Yeah, yeah.
So it ended up being fine, and I think the new project manager was just kind of working out the model for what they're going to try and run.
Yeah.
It's all, it's all still open as to what you guys might want to do. And I think it might also be an opportunity for others from around the country, whether it's a project or a working group or an initiative, to also step in and say, we'll travel down to Melbourne and do a session or something like that.
Yeah, it would be great. Yeah, it is a little bit close to GovHack, assuming GovHack is happening in sort of June, July. Again, we didn't want to stretch the team too thin, but yeah, it would be great if others from around the community around Australia could come and join us for some of that conference.
Okay. Should we go to the next one? GovHack 2016. I just thought I'd list that. There's no real update. As I mentioned, people have been pretty busy with the machinery of government changes with the new Prime Minister. So I'm expecting more updates after this week.
Health Hack, yes, is happening in 4 sites around the country. In Perth, Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney. Planning for that seems to be progressing quite well. We're recruiting problem owners. I think every site has their venue locked in. The sticking point is sponsorship, however. We're still a little bit short on cash. Lots of people keen to give us in-kind support and promotion, but actual funds, particularly as we're keen to offer childcare around Health Hack again this year, is we do need some actual money for that. Although thank you very much to NICTA, who are a national gold sponsor for the project.
How much money does it need?
Well, a site needs between sort of 5 and 6K to run. Childcare will be between $1,500 and $2,000 per site.
That's additional?
No, as part of that.
Yeah, okay.
So if anybody knows, can make any suggestions about sponsorship leads, I'm be very keen to hear.
Well, have you looked at, it's probably obvious, but in-kind sponsorship for the childcare component?
We've approached a couple of organisations to be specifically childcare sponsors.
Okay, cool. And it's 3 locations at the moment, isn't it?
Sorry?
Is it 4 locations?
4. So Stephen, the next item, speaking, co-branding and advisor roles.
So this is probably not a really big point, but after the last, we had a chat over the email, I think, about being involved in events that are organized by commercial entities. Take up sort of advisory roles to help curate the content, whether we put speaking roles or whether we co-brand. I just started to think about that more from a medium to long-term view, and I thought it might be good to have some sort of policy. I'm thinking more around just that concept of open knowledge itself, that if you're going to put a name to something, you might want to put in front of those who are running these events some sort of requirement about releasing information about sort of where the money goes, all that kind of stuff. But as Nick sort of pointed out in a more recent email, we should still have some open opportunity where it works for raising awareness around open knowledge to still be. It's a bit of an immature point at the moment. I just think at some point it might be more important. That moves on to the next point, though, unless anyone's got to say about that.
I mean, this is topical with that invitation to Nick to speak at that conference was it in Canberra later in the year? One of these large-scale commercial events for which Nick was invited either as his role as an economist or as a chair of OKAU. I'm not quite sure what the outcome of that was.
I think that was a co-branding opportunity, so we did actually opt into that one as co-branding. But it recently came up because I got invited to speak at something as Link Digital, and then later they withdrew that invitation because I'm kind of like a commercial entity. I just put the point back to the organisation that, well, actually I'm pretty happy to speak on behalf of Open Knowledge and say nothing about any commercial sort of affiliations, and I do that quite often. So I just thought, if we're going, it might be the right time to start working with other organisations and saying let's create some of these events and make sure that good content is getting out there. So that kind of moves on to the next point, inter-organisational working group. In response to that email thread, I kind of put it out to people like ADI and the Australian Government Link Data Working Group, Environmental for Australia, and I guess Canair from Open Australia, and people like that, start having a conversation with them all and saying we all have pretty much similar for good attitudes when it comes to the type of messaging we want to put out to the community, and we should probably get together once a month and talk about this sort of stuff. It might lead towards, more of a cooperative around how we run and things like that as well. But perhaps actually that's something that we put into the 2016 planning document that Michael took as an action item.
Good plan. I like that.
Yeah, happy with that. I didn't say anything, Steve, but I mean I agree completely with what you're saying. There's lots of organisations well-intentioned and with similar sort of goals, and a little bit more coordination alignment means we're probably a little bit more effective in the use of the limited resources that we have. So, I mean, if you can get them to play, I think it's a really good move.
Okay. Well, I'll take an action item to at least more formally ask those folks if they're keen to do a meetup, like just a video conference once a month, set up a Zoom link, that sort of thing.
Yep.
See how it goes.
Yeah, we were doing breakfasts for a little while in Melbourne with some of the other groups who work in this space, Code for Oz, Random Hacks of Kindness, Collab Forge. That's dropped off a bit this year, but no, it's certainly worth keeping in touch with those groups, I think, and trying to make sure that everyone's pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, I think we're all starting to get more effective and more, and so something a little bit more formal to bring everyone together might help at this time. If
that's all the planning matters, and any other business, we've got a comment about the dormant OKAU Twitter account.
Yeah, just a comment that popped up on the chat for the Etherpad from Matt Sen.
Yes, hi Matt.
So I'm sure everybody can see the comment, but basically saying there is a dormant, or it appears to be dormant, OKAU Twitter account.
There was one which we lost the password for. Is it that one?
We may have to find out. So it's lowercase, no underscore or anything in the name.
My thought is if we could get OKAU active again, we should be using that as the primary. I know it's a pain to migrate
I've
people.
just done a quick search. At OKAU belongs to someone called Susan Brooke, apparently.
Okay.
Joined September 2009, 3 tweets.
Okay. So I think there's nothing we can do with Twitter to try and get that reassociated. if we wanted to.
There was yeah, thanks, Matt. Yeah, an OKFM AU one, I think with an underscore. Lost the password.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm in two minds. Like, it's a bigger issue for OKFM International or OK International because their main domain name is OKFM anyway.
Mm.
I'd just leave it potentially as a known issue. Nothing. Really. Give me your you.
Right. Summary of actions. New or carried over. So Michael will be putting together a draft planning document, is that?
Yep. And setting up another session for us in a month or so.
And there was the question I raised about funding, how we actually pay people to do stuff.
Yes. Ethan, we're going to work on a policy around that. Was that the...
Yeah, so Marcus and I will work on that. But probably fit it into Michael's document.
Log. Discussion. Anything else that came? Oh, new board members. Right, introductory blog posts.
Yeah. I can take that as the action for them to put together. And add them to the website as easy.
And the list of ambassadors and advisors, Stephen's Google Docs.
Yeah.
Comments for that.
To be reviewed.
It's all reviewed now, so... Oh, actually, yeah, everyone can review that. If there are any issues, let me know. But it's publicly reviewed already.
So Steve also, or Fiona perhaps for the actions, but if Steve agrees, a formal note from Nicholas to the retiring board members. I know we thank them here, but an email or something out to them would be nice.
That'd be good.
Yeah. He's not, so we can delegate that to him.
Did we end up sending one to Dave Flanders? I know we talked about it.
I'm not sure if it ever happened.
Can I ask you, Dave, to make sure that that happened?
Yeah. I know we made a main point of it in the actual meeting where he was formally...
He wasn't attending though, so
Yeah.
unless he followed it up later, he wouldn't have heard that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is that everything then?
That's pretty much it. The ones that roll over from last meeting, a couple from me, I'll add to that list before the board meeting. If we're back on the 3-month rotation at the end of December, but I think we'll end up changing that date if we haven't already. I'll check the calendar and update people when the next meeting will be.
Okay.
Everyone's fine with holiday and such.
Mm.
And we've got probably the so to recheck with that.
Then with 4 minutes to go, I might thank you all very much for your time. And see you in a month or so, I hope, when we get together a little less formally, although probably still over the internets, to talk about our grand plan for taking on 2016.
Cool.
No pressure.
Thanks.
Thanks. Hey, Steve, can you stay on for a sec? I just want to chat about DCC briefly. You're okay with that?
I'll just stop the broadcast now, folks.
Okay.